What up, everybody on YouTube? So I'm gonna go ahead and make this video. Just FYI, I'm not gonna get right into the investing stuff right away. Just because I want to put out the good information when I have at least some more subscribers. So I am toying with dabbling into some of the stuff, or maybe just making some videos and then having to remake them in the future. I'm not sure which I'm going to do yet, but for now, I'm holding off on like getting into the nitty gritty because I don't really want to put out like a good video with a lot of information and then it doesn't get seen by a majority of my future subscribers because it was uploaded so long ago. So I'm just kind of tiptoeing at this point. Please bear with me. No pun intended. Anyways, there was a comment on my introductory video from somebody. I don't really know who they are, but apparently they know who I am. And I'm going to address the comment, but I don't think it was a bad comment. Basically, they were like, "Oh, isn't going to give advice, but it's starting a stock channel." So I think that's a valid, not a point. What's the sorry, it's still early in the morning. I'm trying to gather my words. It's a valid sentiment. I'll just put it to you that way. So maybe I wasn't clear enough as to what my channel is going to be. So I'm not talking about individual stocks. In fact, the license that I have, the Series 6 license, is it's also known as the investment company's license. It's not the same as a Series 7, which is general investments, which those are the brokers who sell individual stocks and things of that nature. So that's not what I do, and that's not what I have. I'm not a licensed broker. I'm not allowed to have more than 5 clients selling stocks. So in order for me, if I ever wanted to do more than 5, I would have to get a Series 7 license. And you can't just go and get a license. You have to be sponsored. So I can't just decide I'm going to, study for the exam and then take it. I would have to either A, go to my current employer and petition to have that done, or find employment elsewhere where they're willing to sponsor me to get that license. So I don't have the general investment license at this time. That could change. It is not uncommon for a licensed person to have multiple licenses. It's quite common. So a lot of people who have Series 7 also have Series 6. They have the Series 63 and sometimes even some other ones. So it's not uncommon for that to be the case. It's also not uncommon for people to have just one. Some people just have the 7. Some people just have the 6. Currently, I just have the 6. I would like to become a principal. I'm not really going to get into what that means, but there is a license you have to get that. But I would like to, achieve that someday. But in the meantime, I'm just on my grind. That being said, let me go ahead and address that comment real quick before I do that. YouTube, on the comments, don't put the email, just put the username. It's very annoying because this could possibly be somebody that I talk to on a regular basis and not realize it, because when I'm in chats, it shows the name. When I'm in comments, it shows the email. It's very annoying. Anyways, back to what I was saying. So I understand the sentiment. Why start a channel talking about stocks if you're not going to give advice? Well, for one, I'm not going to be talking about stocks. I'm talking about the different investment vehicles and how they work, what the risks, what the pros and the cons are, things of that nature, because that's the stuff that people don't really understand a lot of times. They think, you know, in order to invest, the only option that they have is to buy stocks. They don't know what the difference between a stock and a bond is. They don't know what a mutual fund is. When it comes to things like life insurance and annuities, they don't know what a sub account is. They don't know what a separate account is. Those are the things that I'm going to be covering on my channel. And the other thing is, I'm doing this for free. If I'm going to be giving advice, I want to get paid. And that's one of the big reasons why I'm not giving advice on my channel, at least not advice on stocks and things like that. Once again, I also can't have more than 5 customers if I'm selling individual stocks, and I'm not going to be selling stocks to you guys. So why would I go out of my way to give advice when there's really no real incentive for me? Not only that, you don't want somebody who doesn't have the proper profile on you giving you advice anyways. Okay? You want somebody being your advisor is not just some dude on YouTube telling you about stocks. It's extensive, more extensive than that. So if you want advice, I advise everybody, find you a broker. Look them up on brokercheck.com. If you go to brokercheck.com, you can look up any broker. It'll tell you how long, what licenses they have, how long they've had their licenses, what companies they work for, how long they work for them. There's an area there called disclosures. If you go to disclosures, it'll tell you if they've ever been sued or been involved in a lawsuit or a scandal, or maybe they work for a company that maybe they weren't directly involved with any scandals, but potentially could have been, and just were, there was never any proof. All that stuff is in disclosures. So, that's what I would advise. Find a broker, look them up on BrokerCheck. All right, my bad. As usual, I am working when I'm making these videos. But yeah, go on BrokerCheck. Check out, anytime you're talking to a broker for the first time, do your own personal screening and come to your own surmises whether or not you want to do business with that broker. But I'm not putting my personal information out there for y'all to look me up. I'm just, like I said, and that's another thing. So that's why I'm not giving advice on this channel. There's several reasons, monetary, ethical, the fact that I'm not willing to put my own identity out there for you to look me up. If I am doing business with somebody, because, and let me just say this, there's a lot of crazy people out there on YouTube. So I'm sorry, I'm just not willing to put my personal details out there so that they could find out where I work and then try to get me fired because I have a boxing channel and they don't like my boxing takes. So yeah, I'm not going to do that. However, I will put out information to help you guys out to understand how things work. When you hear certain words, or, if you, let's say you go to buy an annuity, there may be things that agent is not telling you. Because I'll be honest with you, a lot of sales agents, at least from my experience, they leave out details when they, if not necessarily because they want to keep information from you, but the more time they're spending with you, the less time they're spending with somebody else to sell them something. So they may cut corners on the information that they're giving you, and not real, and they don't do it on purpose, I'm sure. But then later, and sometimes it can be months, sometimes it can be years, sometimes it can be decades, depending on what the product is that they sold you, and you don't even know how it works. And it may be a good product for you, but you didn't manage it properly because you weren't given some education. So that's what the purpose of this channel is. It's not to give advice. I'm not going to be talking about individual stocks, because my license doesn't even deal with that. I'll explain what investment companies means on another video. But yeah, that's why I'm not giving advice. It's, like I said, there's no monetary gain on my part. There's, it's really not ethical because I don't have the appropriate profile for you. Investing is not a one size fits all. All right. There's a lot of different things that come into play, income, age, and then personal goals. This 80-year-old man may not have the same goals as that 80-year-old man. This 80-year-old man has great grandchildren, and that one never got married, never had any children of their own. Therefore, they have no grand or great grandchildren. They're going to have different goals, they're going to have different needs. So, that's just one example. So, that's why I'm not giving advice, because advice is not just, oh, well, this stock is doing good, you should invest in that. There's a lot more that goes into it, because when it comes to risk, everybody's risk factor is different. Everybody's risk tolerance is different. So, I'm not going to be on here giving advice and then it works for some people and not for others. I'm not going to do that. But what I am going to do is give you the facts and the information that will arm you to make good decisions when you're purchasing a life insurance policy, when you're purchasing an annuity, the things that come along with, the penalties if you close it too early, things like that. So I hope I cleared up why I'm not giving advice well enough on this video. Stay tuned. Like I said, I'm going to be kind of doing videos kind of like this in the meantime until I'm not going to wait till I have 1,000 subscribers, but I at least want to have like maybe 50 before I start putting out some of the really good information. But I think this is good information nonetheless. But y'all take it easy. Peace.